I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 32 years old, and for the past 15 years, I have been in prison. During that time, I've had the opportunity to reflect on my past and the decisions that I have made. In no way am I proud of what led me here. However, coming to prison has made my life a life worth living. My story starts with the divorce of my parents not long after I was born. I was awarded to my mother as most children are. And while with my mother, I began to realize that she loved two things more than me. That was men and drugs. I watched as they got all of her attention, and I wondered why she never loved me. The men in my mother's life would torment me. But what was worse is when they casted me aside and acted like I didn't exist. That wasn't until I turned 6 years old. And I was held down by a family member and I was raped. I had no idea what this experience would do to the rest of my life. Shortly after I was victimized, my mother decided that she was done being a mother. She leaves me in a house by myself, and she flees to Florida. At least she calls my dad to let him know that she wasn't coming back and where he could find me. My father rushed to pick me up, but he had no idea the damage that was already caused. Several years go by before my mother wants to come back into my life. She says she's coming to pick me up. I'm excited, so I wait and I wait, but she never shows up. It devastates me and I hysterically cry myself to sleep. I'm awoken in the middle of the night by my family. They tell me to get dressed. I'm going for a ride. A couple hours later, I'm checked into a mental hospital. My family just didn't know what else to do. While I was there, I was placed on medication because apparently there was something wrong with me. And I was starting to believe it too. My stay was short, and when I was released, my mom wanted me to move in with her. I remember that's the first time I ever saw my father cry. He begged me not to go, but I went anyway. That's because he already knew what was going to happen. I went with my mother, and soon after, my stepfather made her choose between me or him. And back to my father I went. Crazy. Unbelievable. It felt like my world was imploding. I did everything I could to be numb, so I took as many drugs as I could. I soon find out that my cousin dies in a car wreck, and I'm the one that feels responsible. See, I told him to come out to my house that night, but he never made it. I quit going to school just so I could get high. Soon I find out that I went from a 3.25 GPA to an F student overnight, it seemed. You know what's worse? Nobody said a thing. I'm almost willing to bet not a single person noticed. And then I find out that my son's mother is being sexually molested by her father. My heart gets ripped from my chest. I remember what it feels like to be that kid, that helpless. I swear right then and there that I'm going to do what nobody did for me. I'm going to protect her. I go to my friends and their families, but they're too afraid to get involved. I go to my father, but I lied so much as a kid that he doesn't believe me. I guess the boy that cried wolf finally caught up to me. Some people would say, why not go to the police? In my mind, telling isn't even an option. I tried moving in with her thinking maybe if I was there, it would stop. I was wrong. That only leaves one person left. It's a long shot, but she just might listen. I go to my mother, and this is what she has to say to me. David, you know what you have to do. You protect your family at all costs. He must die. I really believed I was doing the right thing the night that I shot my girlfriend's father. What I didn't know is nobody would agree with me. In trying to ease the pain of my son's mother, I'm the one that's responsible for her 15 to life sentence for murder. Swearing my son would never go through the pain and the trauma that I went through, this is the legacy that I've left behind. Both of his parents in prison for the murder of his grandfather. I abandoned my family, and I took another man from his. I've grown to know that words are not enough to say I'm sorry. So I've dedicated my life to help men and kids from becoming me. I work with men every day down at Lifeline to help them better themselves. And I try to be a positive role model in everybody's life. I believe that there's a few things that dramatically affected my life. Number one, I was sexually molested as a kid. Number two, I was abandoned by my mother. Number three, I was failing in school, taking drugs. And not only did nobody notice, but I don't think too many people said a thing to me. And number four, I was put into an adult situation. And when I needed somebody the most, at first nobody stepped up to help me. But then when they did, they gave me very, very bad advice. Now I want you to think about something for a minute. I want you to think about the kids that are in your life right now. Picture their faces. What kind of future do you have envisioned for these kids? Now, who in here knows, by a raise of hands, a child in any one of those situations or worse? Will you watch another kid throw their life away? Or will you step up, get involved, and keep another kid from becoming me? Thank you.